Live. Just takes a few minutes for it to get started on this end. Okay, it looks like we are now live. So this open meeting of the Greater Boroughs Partnership for Health Advisory Board is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of July 16, 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the Greater Boroughs Advisory Board are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, actually, I should step back. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It being Wednesday, September 14th at approximately 2:05 p.m. We're going to call this meeting of the Greater Boroughs Advisory Board or Greater Boroughs Partnership for Health Advisory Board to order. I'll take you to that remote script. So again, the open meeting is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of June 16, 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the advisory board are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the advisory board to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed in the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. I'd just like to confirm and do a roll call for attendance at this time. Members, if you could, when I call your name, if you could please respond in the affirmative. So Heather Alker.
Present.
Jen Sullivan.
Here.
Chelsea Malinowski.
Here.
Isabella Caruso, epidemiologist.
Here.
Okay, we also have Katie Holt, Northborough Administrative Assistant on the call. All right. And Katie, you don't even have to talk, but we'll be here for meeting minutes and she'll be following along. So given we have a conflict on time, we'll try to move fairly quickly through the agenda items, and please members just jump in at any time. So I just want to start off with the Public Health Excellence Grant for Shared Services. So this is the grant, the big grant, $300,000 a year for fiscal year 24. I know it sounds a little strange that we're talking about a draft fiscal year budget while we're already started, right? This fiscal year started on July 1, but the state's a little behind in their approvals of these. So we just received the template earlier this month. It is due at the end of the month. So I'll sort of walk you through. We don't have any major changes. Our grant budget is pretty similar to last year. We're really heavy on our staffing, obviously. So I did circulate this draft budget before. So I just want to walk through again the health agent line item. So you'll notice that this form, that you were received via email, it's very similar format to last year's. The state added these categories. So if you're saying like, well, why do you have an empty line that says other public health staff? This is a form from the state that we just plug everybody's info into. So our nurse contract, this is for our 1.5, is maintains contracted at that set number of 131,000. So there's no change, and we're still contracted with Salmon VNA. So that's underway. Our health agent line item. So again, this is it is a full-time position, but Northborough is paying $13,000 out of our Board of Health budget to support this position. So the balance of that is really the health agent's salary with an official start date of 7/11 for the health agent at the rate that is set within our classification system in Northborough. So that's our starting salary. So again, that line item is less $13,000 out of Northborough. So that line item is at $60,000. There's also a line item here for a shared service coordinator, and you might go, what's that? So that was there last year as well. If you can remember, we didn't expend it. We actually rolled that into supplies. So the Mass Department of Public Health they want a full-time program coordinator for each grant. I don't think that's necessary for such a small region of 4 towns. I think part-time would make sense, but we still haven't figured out how to do that. As we staff up and we hire as the town of Northborough, we really wanted to get things in place, but I do have penciled in $30,000. I'm working with the town administrator's office and finance, and like, what would this position look like? Would it be an administrative assistant? Would it be a contracted person? I don't know, but DPH wants us to sort of hold that money. So what we heard at our last meeting with Cassandra is it shouldn't be Northborough Health Department staff doing it. You really need a program coordinator. So we're looking to solve that. I have it budgeted in here at about, a 0.4 full-time equivalent, 30,000. So that's a placeholder. Haven't solved it yet. So working through staff, our health agent, full-time employee is not taking any benefits. So you don't see a benefit line item. So last year, our previous person did. So on fringe and payroll taxes, those numbers were much higher. But as we work through that budget, any questions on the program components about direct salaries or support as we go through this? Okay. And then, so as we go back down. Oh, go ahead, Heather. Yeah.
But maybe it was jumping a little bit too far ahead. So for the PHE, you explained the shared service and the agency admin support. Number 4.
Oh, that's the 15% overhead that all PHE regions. So that's sort of a lot of these grants. It's just it's a set amount is 15%. So that goes directly to the town of Northborough, like general fund. Okay, yeah. And it covers like RIT, accounting, etc. It's just general grant overhead set at 15%.
And then I did want to say, I appreciate the training and credentialing. I think, as you know, we asked last year about a couple of food training courses and such. So,
yep. So right now that's penciled at $3,000. And, so it was moved out before I couldn't even find it this year. So again, if we're talking about professional development training, they made a whole new category. It's so important. I actually had to call them and say, where do I put this? But if we work through, health, communication, and special supplies, membership fees, nursing supplies, technology, hardware, technology, software, and travel, those are all categories for the grant. Overall, when we add up all of those categories, our biggest amount is our technology software, relevant software, locked in at that rate at $23,400. That's the majority. And then there's around 8,000 that would be covering some other program supplies, the mileage for our shared health inspector, et cetera. And then we have currently $3,000 in training credentialing. The state's been very flexible. So if Northborough doesn't hire a shared service coordinator, we'll be able to move those items around. So I think what we'll be looking for is if you have any training you know of. I know our nurses have already, signed up for some training. We talked about membership, so we'll be plugging those in. And if we look to go over budget on these items, we'll be coming back to the group at our next quarterly meeting to make adjustments. But I feel pretty comfortable. Granted, we aren't paying any health benefits out, just this employee didn't elect. We have a lot of wiggle room next year. That might not be the case. I might be coming back to the group at fiscal year 24 saying we're short, but for right now, it really seems to be coming together. So any other comments or questions on the PHE grant? Are you all comfortable with that budget? I would like to just sort of make it official and say, we have if there's a motion to accept the draft budget, I do have to submit this to the state at the end of the month, but changes can take place. They're pretty generous. At the end of the year, when they're trying to spend that budget down, they were even allowing like weekly review of revision requests. So there's some fluidity to the budget for sure.
All right. I can second the motion.
Okay, so Kristen making a motion to accept the draft fiscal year PHE budget, seconded by Heather Alker. Any further discussion? Okay, and so we'll go to vote. We'll do roll call. Heather?
Aye.
Jen?
Aye.
Okay, and Kristen Black, aye. So the draft budget passes. I will be submitting that to the state. So if we quickly move on to our PHE budget. So again, our PHE grant is our contact tracing grant. It's also called like locals. It has a very long name under DPH. It's the local health support for COVID-19 case investigation contact tracing. I just abbreviate that often as the contact tracing grant. That's where we have our one full-time equivalent, which is Penny Giacobbe and Heather Stratton, are contracted through Salmon B&H to support our region. They're doing some of those home wellness checks, et cetera. So that's this grant, and as well as Isabella's on, our epidemiologist, is funded under this grant. So this was really a 2-year grant, fiscal year 22 and fiscal year 23. We underspent this grant in fiscal year 22. I sent you the exact numbers in our email, but by around $50,000. So that money was rolled forward. So that's why you're going to see this budget is showing a total grant award amount of approximately $219,500 for this grant. So it's the 160 plus the rollover of approximately 50,000. And so we do need to show the state that we're going to use all of that this year. Okay. And so it's procedural. If we don't, I have already in writing from Kevin Cranston at DPH, we can roll to fiscal year 24. So this is more of a federal grant, flexibility and rolling. So this proposed budget shows the full amount. We're looking to make Isabella as our epidemiologist at on average 24 hours a week. We used Isabella full-time through the summer. She has some capacity to do some extra hours. So if the group's agreeable, that would be increasing that line item to a total of $44,928 approximately. And there's no benefits there, but fringe is sort of just estimated just in case there'll be some wiggle room on that. If we underspend again, we can look to move it. I also have line items for our contract nursing, or one full-time equivalent contract with Salmon is static at $90,000. I did add a line item because I have to show that we're using that full carryover amount, just a placeholder per diem nursing services at $30,000. In the event we have a surge, we'd be able to use those funds to hire additional nurses to help with making phone calls, supporting our residents with contact tracing, supporting the schools, etc. I've penciled in a website design. So one thing we've talked about maybe offline with few of you is we all have our individual town websites. Isabella's doing this great work in this dashboard. We've had interns making great resources, and then it all lands on the Town of Northborough webpage. And so when we send residents to it, it doesn't feel like, hey, Southborough, you're getting, like, it feels like Southborough, no, you're going to Northborough or Westborough residents. So some of our PHE regions have their own website. I believe something simple like GBPH.org, or those are available. So we'd like to work with the same designer, Natalie, who we used with Studio, is it 7887? I get it flipped around, but Natalie did our Greater Boroughs logo. We'd like to work with her again to help design this website. And then, so it's a upfront cost. And I did hear from Kevin Cranston that we could use our contact tracing funds, because we'll put our dashboard, we'll put information about disease investigation. So there's that item. Our shared service coordinator, again, is I'm just sharing though, it's a little placeholder if Northborough does hire somebody or contract with CMRPC for assistance. So that line item 7,500. And then just sort of catch everything with what's left. We are penciled in at $9,206 in just general supplies. So one of the things that I would like to look to do is to purchase some bags that we could possibly use for our health offices related to Narcan or other projects under Narcan distribution or other public health education distribution is sort of captured under that. So I just want to see if there's any questions. That all rounds out, and the budget is fully expended at $219,504 on paper for this year.
I move to accept the draft budget.
Okay.
I had just a couple comments / questions, but so this is the last year for this grant, right?
It can be rolled over and rolled forward.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we don't expend, let's say we don't touch,
but it's not,
touch the 30,000.
I see.
My goal, and I think we talked about this, is I would like to, I'm planning in essence that if we don't have a surge, we'd roll that money forward and keep our epidemiologist on fiscal year 24. So that's sort of where my head is at with this. I have to show on paper that we would use it. And it's great to have that additional capacity if we need additional nursing and contact tracing. In the event we don't use it, we could keep it on through fiscal year.
I mean, the per diem nursing looked interesting to me because sort of a perspective from Southborough, we're doing less clinics at site, but, trying to, when we do need, other coverage for vacation or clinics, it seems like there's not always availability with other type of schedules. So
The only thing is clinics
But only,
wouldn't
but right,
count
isn't it that the clinics can't be covered with the contact
this
tracing?
grant. Yeah, so it's really about
It's
contact
still that.
tracing, support for disease investigation, et
Okay, so
cetera.
it's still the same.
So I think we have to be very strategic in that. So if you had a nursing line item you used to have under your town budget, look to that for specific to clinics.
Okay, so it's
um,
still that way, that
It's
this
still
is-
that way
this
with this.
year,
There's not really
nothing
much
for
we can do.
clinics. Got
And
it.
I don't have that wiggle room in the PHE budget. So we have the per diem. So if, the schools needed support or,
Okay.
things like that in town, but it wouldn't count for clinics.
Okay,
COVID-19 vaccinations.
right, I remember that in the
Oh,
past.
Jen, do you need to go? Okay, so can we move quickly? Otherwise, we don't have a quorum. So I'll second the motion to accept the contact tracing fiscal year 23 budget. Any further discussion, or could we move to vote? Okay, so we'll go ahead and no further discussion. Jen, roll call vote in favor
Yes.
of contact tracing. Okay. Yes, Heather.
Aye.
Okay, and Kristen Black, aye. So thank you. And Jen, sorry I had to rush you along. We'll fill you in.
No,
Isabel's
I
great.
apologize for having to leave early. Have a good
Okay,
day,
and so
everybody.
our meeting minutes, we'll just vote those at a future meeting. I don't think that's fine. It's good they're there. Okay,
Thanks.
all right.
Bye.
Sorry to lose you, Jen. Okay, so we no longer have a quorum, but I believe we can move forward discussing, but just taking no action. Is that correct? Chelsea, you live
No,
there? Oh, we can't continue to meet without a quorum, right?
no.
Did
Okay,
we
So-
have from Boylston? No.
no, because we don't have Boylston on board. Okay,
I mean, I assume that this falls under the same open meeting law
yes,
that everything else. So yeah, you need to have a quorum.
yep. Okay, so actually, we don't even have a quorum to end the meeting because Jen jumped off so quickly.
That I don't know how you reflect in your minutes. Not sure.
I know this Zoom technology is making things complicated. Okay. We'll see if we have an answer.
Stop the streaming.
Yeah, so right now we don't have a quorum. Okay, we're in a predicament unless we can get Ray on board or anybody from Boylston. We still don't have Sarah available and we haven't heard from Rob. Okay. Okay, so I think that will be, it will look unless, we'll maybe give a couple minutes to see if Ray can join the meeting and then we would have the quorum for, to move forward.
So just say that we're in recess as of
Okay,
2:22.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Even if we can get a hold of Chief Flanagan, he's not a voting member at this point because we have Sarah and Rob.
It's Sarah and Rob. Yeah, I don't have their contact info.
Spare me a minute. I'm going to try to call Ray right now and see if we can get him on board. Both Ray and Jen are unavailable at Westboro. So given we don't have the meeting, we're going to have to, don't have a quorum, we're going to have to officially adjourn. So it was a quick meeting. with a few motions. I'll check with our town clerk if there's anything we need to do about not being able to officially adjourn with a quorum of the board. But I still, even at that, I guess we'll do a motion to adjourn. And Heather, can you?
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And not so official, so we'll check on that and make sure we're meeting open meeting law. And we'll follow up and maybe do a meeting sooner than later on these quarterly meetings just to work through some of that. But I appreciate all of you taking the time to meet, start to go over the budget. I know there's a lot with Isabella that we can continue to talk to about, and we'll do that at a future time. Okay, thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye.